All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Networking in LinkedIn. So this is the Pumpkin Spice Up Your Career series. I am Jessica Wilson. I'm the Associate Director of Master's Career Development here at our Career Center. So I work with master's students and I oversee our 2 graduate peer educators. This series is intended for undergrad and grad students, so all students at UC San Diego. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge that today is a heavy day, and it's a pretty momentous day with the news election results. We in Student Affairs have a lot of resources. If you need spaces to process the outcome of the election, please check in with us at the front desk or speak with any of us associate directors. But I just want to say, if you need space to process, that comes first. That comes before your networking or your LinkedIn, right? So just wanted to make mention of that. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and processing what you need to process during this time. So let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about both networking and LinkedIn, which is probably my favorite topic when it comes to job searching. So the takeaways today for the workshop are going to be evaluating the support provided by your current connections that you have. Second, how to strategically build your network to meet your goals. 3, understand available resources to you through UC San Diego. And then also crafting and using your LinkedIn to increase your connections and job prospects. So the paper that you guys got first when you walked in today is an evaluation of your current network. Okay, so Michael is going to put that in the chat. You want to be thinking about, before you start to make the bridge of new connections, who is currently in your network, right? Some of you have had prior work experience. Maybe you've had an internship, maybe you've worked in the lab, maybe you've worked in industry at your undergraduate institution, right? You might have worked with faculty or professors. Those are all experiences, right? You are not starting from scratch, right? None of you are starting from scratch. So the purpose of this, this worksheet is to evaluate right now who is in your current network, right? And where are there gaps? Where do you not have support? Where do you not have a sponsor? Where do you not have somebody who's at a company mentioning your name, right, for an opportunity or forwarding your resume? Where are there gaps? But also, where do you have support currently, okay? Are there areas right now or in the future that are going to become important? For example, if you're going to apply to a PhD, maybe right now you're in a master's program, you're looking for an internship, but in the future you're going to apply to a PhD, right? Having recommendations from faculty is going to be important in the future, right? So now in the future, you might need different resources and support. Who in your network currently provides that support to you? Are there areas you could use more support, and who might be able to meet those needs? So the areas on the worksheet, this was created by our postdoc program manager, Heather Dillon. So the different areas you'll see, getting a job is not just having a sponsor. There are multiple different people who could be a mentor to you in different ways, right? So I'm gonna actually give you guys about 5 minutes to take some notes on who you currently have that is your accountability and evaluation partner. So say you're working in a group project. Do you have other peers in your program who are giving you constructive feedback, holding you accountable to your goals? Maybe it's you have a job search, internships search accountability partner. Who is that? Who's saying, did you apply to a job this week or not? Right? Information and resources. In addition to the Career Center, where else are you getting information and resources to support you on your job search, right? Collaboration. Who are you currently working with that is influencing your opportunities, right? Or how you're growing? Who are you currently collaborating with? Skill development. Are you being mentored by a PhD student, by your PI, by your faculty, outside of maybe office hours, maybe a TA? Maybe you're taking an extension course. How are you developing your skills in an area in the internship, in industry that is on the job description? Right? Advising and coaching, obviously, the Career Center, we're here for advising and coaching, right? Also maybe staff, graduate coordinators, undergraduate coordinators, advising and coaching for your classes, but who else is providing advising in your life, maybe outside of UCSD as well? Mentoring in your field, do you have any mentors who are sharing insights from their experience, right? Helping you navigate career path or organizational shifts. Sponsorship, this is a big one. Who's within the organization mentioning your name in a room full of opportunities? Who's your sponsor? Who's saying Lorena would be great for that opportunity? I would, because I think she's great, so I would say that, right? But you need a sponsor, right? If nobody's mentioning your name, why not? And how do you find that sponsor? How do you start building your network, right? What about well-being? Yes, we have CAPS. Yes, we have the Student Health Center. Who's helping you with your well-being, holding you accountable to your well-being? Because the job search is a stressful process, right? Well-being is a part of this, mental health is a part of this. And role model, who out there in industry, maybe a celebrity figure, CEO at one of these companies, who's your role model, your professional role model? Who do you aspire to be like? Might be an author, famous, speaker, has a TED Talk. Who is that for you and why? So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. I want you to jot down some notes and maybe just identify one area that currently right now you want to grow in that area. Are you getting interesting questions? Give you about 1 more minute. So as we are closing up our 5-minute assessment, clearly that's not enough time, but I encourage you to spend more time on this. Maybe discuss with one of your classmates and invest some time in devising a strategy for filling in the gaps, right? So you might have a lot of gaps, or you see you're using the same person for multiple things. How do you diversify who you're working with and who you're using, right, together? Any reflections either on the chat or here in person about this exercise? Reflections of current support you have or don't have, themes you're seeing from your paper? Yes. Okay, he has a lot of gaps, he says, okay. And any ideas of how to fill those yet?
I've been here for a couple months.
Well, you're in the right place. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, I think similarly, like I feel like I rely on the same kind of voice of the people for a lot of different areas here. So I want to try and diversify in that respect.
Excellent. Diversify who you're utilizing for support momentum in the job search. Definitely. Good. Anybody else in the chat or in person? No? All right. So when you're building new connections, right, it's important, number one, to understand what are your needs, what are you looking for? And being very specific about what you're looking for in your messaging is also quite important, right? I have a lot of students say, oh, I'm looking to connect, but they don't put a direct message. Connect about what and why them, why now? It's really important. You know your needs and you're communicating your needs, but in a professional way, right? Always stay open to new opportunities. You never know where an opportunity is going to come. It actually could come from somebody in this room, somebody's network in this room or on Zoom. You never know. Always stay open, always have conversations. Never expect that you're not going to get something out of a relationship. You never know who people know, okay? On the back of the paper, we have something about crafting your introduction or your pitch. As you're preparing to start networking, you really want to solidify your pitch. And you're going to be tailoring your pitch depending on who you're speaking with, right? So if you speak to a career advisor, your pitch is going to look a little bit different than you speak to a recruiter, than if you speak to, you know, an engineer. You're going to tailor per company, right? You really want to be mindful of having an introduction, but tailoring that, right? Start with who you know, but also who knows you is the focus, right? Something Lorena in the back said, it's not just who you know, it's who knows you and who is a sponsor. So who is mentioning your name in a room full of opportunities? Because if you know a bunch of people, but they're not advocating for you, how strong is that network really, right? Utilize resources. So you're here, you're doing it. So making that introduction, some, 4 key pieces you want to keep in mind. Who are you, right? That could be your degree, your master's, undergrad degree, what you do and what you have currently done, right? History of your qualifications, your achievements, your skill sets. What do you want in the future, right? What next steps are you taking? What do you see yourself contributing to at an organization, right? And then why is it them, right? Why Nike, not Adidas, right? Why Apple, not Microsoft? Why machine learning engineer, not software development engineer? You have to know so deeply why them and only them. Because if you just say, I want a job, that's not good enough. Very, very important, right? When we do networking conversations, also very important, the conversation shouldn't be all about you, it's about them, right? We're gonna talk about the strategy in a second, but very, very important, the conversation's about the company, it's about the role, it's about the team, it's about their work, and how excited you are to learn more about it, right? It's a learning conversation, but it's not just for you to go on and on and on about your skill set and how great you are. It's a learning opportunity. This is a lot about learning. So who knows what an informational interview is in the chat or here in person? Informational interviewing. It's a key term in our office. It's a way to network. I'll just say that. Anybody want to be brave? Give us what they think the definition of informational interviewing is. You are all smart. You got into UCSD. Is it an interview? No. So what is it? Yes.
Is it similar to like just meeting up with someone? It's like meeting up with someone in the field just to get to know them type of thing.
Yep. Good start. So meeting somebody in industry or in the field that you're looking into to get to know about it, to learn more information about that field. Absolutely. Other pieces? Is it just information? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand how someone that is in a position that you're interested in talk to where they are and way forward.
Good. So learning how someone was successful in landing a job at this company, right? That's a reason why you would have an informational interview. How did you land a job at this company? Good. Do you learn that on the job description? Not usually, not usually. Okay. Well, instead of, well, no, I guess we'll go into how to reach out, right? So if you've met with me, you probably already saw that I shared this. So when you are reaching out, you should not ask for a referral. You should not be asking for a job or an interview or just, hey, I want to connect, right? When you're sending messages, you want to be very, very clear. Number one, who are you, right? Similar to your pitch. So I'm a graduate student at UC San Diego, specializing in biological sciences and interested in biotech careers. I'm hoping, this is what do I want? I'm hoping you might help me gain insights into the profession. So information, right? And I'm sure this is the ask. What do I want? And then the ask. I'm sure my questions could be answered in a 15 to 30 minute informational interview. And I'm currently available to do so these dates and times. So you did all the work for them. You said, I'm available the next 2 weeks, these dates and times, right? I understand you're very busy and I appreciate any time you might have for me. So one thing very specifically, this does not say thanks for connecting. That's not the strategy, right? You want to ask, you want to hop on a phone call with this person, right? So you want to be very specific, very clear, but not over the top, right? You don't want to be asking for something in return. Okay, so we are going to watch a video. It's a little bit long, but it's really, really good about informational interviewing. And it's by Steve Dalton. So it's about 8 minutes. I'll pull it up. All right.
Informational interviews are now seen as the key tool in the modern job search. INSEAD Careers spoke to Steve Dalton, author of the 2-Hour Job Search, to find out why.
Welcome to INSEAD Careers, Steve. In your book, The 2-Hour Job Search, you argue kind of paradoxically
the best way to job search is not actually to apply for jobs, but to spend your time networking and asking for informational interviews. I want to unpack this, but first of all, tell us what is an information interview.
An informational interview is a conversation with a professional who works in your desired area. Someone who has the job currently that you would one day like. It's unlike an actual job interview where the interviewer managed.
1 second. Can you stop sharing? 1 second. Let's see.
Which is the agenda. The crucial difference with an informational interview is that the job seeker or the junior person in conversation runs the agenda. So it's critical for the job seeker to be prepared with an agenda that encourages the corporate contact to open up systematically, to talk about themselves in a pleasant fashion for 20 to 30 minutes.
And why does this work?
People enjoy talking about themselves. They don't enjoy listening about others. So if you reach out to somebody and ask them to talk about their experience, they're more likely to say yes than if you reach out to them and ask if they're willing to listen to you talk about yourself. So it's the best, most efficient way to get people's attention in the fields that you're seeking to enter.
What do people get out of an information interview? Why would a job hunter want to do one?
The key benefits of an informational interview, first and foremost, are going to be the network that you're developing. You're establishing likability with trusted professionals in that space. This allows your job search efforts, once they actually commence later, to be much more productive, because it's not just your own single set of eyes and ears that's working. You have multiple sets of eyes and ears that are looking out for you. So in essence, you are managing your own job search team by building this fleet of advocates before you even need them. Second benefit of informational meetings is insider knowledge. You have a better understanding of the types of projects that job entails, the types of people that succeed within a particular organization, the types of problems that keep them up at night. This information will make you a very credible candidate, not just with that particular employer, but with their peers, where you'd be doing a very similar job at a slightly different employer. Very quickly, you can establish credibility if you can list the types of projects you would expect to do in a particular role, or if you demonstrate an understanding of what concerns they're facing right now.
How do you actually carry out one of the information interviews? Is there a kind of framework or particular questions that you need to ask?
So I teach my job seekers who are about to embark on an informational interview a process called the Tiara framework. It's a questioning algorithm that frames the interviewer as an expert at the start of the conversation and systematically converts them to become a mentor by the end of it. By asking questions in a particular order, that's going to maximize the chance that that stranger becomes an advocate by the end of the conversation. TIARA is an acronym. It stands for Trends, Insights, Advice, Resources, and Assignments. Trend questions are open-ended questions that establish some conversational rapport about the state of the company right now. Very big picture questions. Insights get a little bit more personal. So rather than asking a professional in that space to comment on the industry in general, I want them to speak about their personal successes in particular. This primes your contact and creatively before you get to advice questions, where you ask for empathy. Remember what it's like to be me. How would you do? This is a quick way to build likability and start shifting the relationship towards a mentorship one. This is where you ask your contact what research they do in a given day or given week to stay current on their industry. Demonstrates sincerity of interest on your part. The final topic, assignments, helps you build up that mental toolbox of the types of work you'd actually do if you were hired for this position.
Before you do an informational interview, what kind of research do you do?
Look at the company's website. And that sounds cliche, but there's a very critical piece of information on the website that I want them to check. Not information about the boring details of the organizational structure, but the headlines. Most companies will put their positive headlines on their front page, the news that they're excited to talk about. It's critical that a job seeker knows the good news of a company because they don't want to be caught by surprise. How interested could a job seeker be if we just launched a product this week? It's all over our website and the job seeker doesn't know it. On the flip side, the final factor that I would recommend always checking before an informational interview would be Googling headlines about the company. This helps you cover your flags about negative news about the company. So if they've had a product failure or a plant closure or any other sort of mixed news that indicates to you what topics you'd want to avoid. Because you want this informational meeting to be fun for the person you're speaking to. You don't want to grill them. They're only going to refer you on to their colleagues if you're pleasant to speak to.
So you met with the contact, you've had the information meeting, what happens next?
It's critical to send a thank you note within a couple of days after you do an informational meeting. This person will never get a raise, will never get a bonus, will never see their stock price appreciate because they brought you into the organization. The only reason they're helping you is out of the goodness of their heart, doing you a favor. It feels good to help people in need. So it's important to acknowledge that favor.
And how would you recommend following up after that?
My recommendation is after you have a successful informational meeting with the contact, set yourself a recurring monthly reminder. Not in Excel. Excel is great at a lot of things, but it's a terrible calendar. Make sure you're using Microsoft Outlook or Google Calendar, something that's built for calendaring functions. Set a recurring monthly reminder to follow up on that particular conversation. When you check in the first time, recap a piece of advice they gave you in that initial conversation. Give a sentence about why you benefit from that advice, and then ask for further advice. This uses something called the Ben Franklin effect, which is a brilliant concept identified by Ben Franklin back in the 1700s. It's a classic that not many people know. But basically, people like you better if you ask them for favors and you don't pay them off. Don't try to repay them because that looks like a transaction. Instead, ask them for further mentorship. It's a much more effective way to go.
Finally, Steve, what would you say is the most important thing that you need to take away from the information?
If I had one fact that I could get out of an informational interview, if I only got one question, my question would be, what keeps you up at night about your job? What is stressing you out right now? If you know the answer to that question, any cover letter that you write for that company will be very easy to write. Any interview you will do very well because very quickly you can demonstrate empathy. You can appreciate the problems that they're facing right now. And as you talk to several people who do that same job, you'll have a menu of circumstances that are keeping people in this field up at night, which makes you a very credible candidate. You're not just regurgitating information you saw on the internet. You have what's called a second level insight. It's not a basic research fact, but it's something that's real. That's coming from someone in the know. So that I think is the critical piece of information you can walk away from an informational interview with.
Steve, thank you very much.
All right. All right. Michael, can you turn the sound down a little bit? It's a little, thank you. So just to reiterate, you want to be clear, you're not asking for a job, right? Scheduling 15 to 30 minutes. The focus of the meeting should be 80% on them, 20% on you. You are the facilitator. So you should have questions prepared, right? Have thoughtful questions that are grounded in research. You want to make a positive impression. You want to dress nice. So for example, if you're on Zoom having this conversation, you should not have your bed that's not made right behind you. You should have a nice background. You should have a pen and paper to take notes, not just nodding your head, writing down furiously the advice they're sharing with you. That shows attention to detail, okay? And most importantly, follow up. So many students I talk with when I say, oh, you spoke to somebody at the career fair, you spoke to somebody at an orientation event, almost every student did not follow up. You want to be the one who is remembered for writing a thank you note to say, why did you appreciate the advice they shared? What next steps are you going to implement of their advice, right? And then asking for that future mentorship. How can you continue to develop that relationship? Right? One thing, I know it can be exhausting One thing in Steve Dalton's book, 2 Hour Job Search, he talks about, not everyone is a booster. A booster is someone he identifies as gets thrill from helping people. So for example, the team at the Career Center, we are all boosters. We do really enjoy seeing our students succeed, right? There are alumni who are boosters, meaning they have self-identified, they want to help students get into their companies. We have Take a Triton to Work, we have Tritons Connect, we'll talk about those in a second, right? You want to find the boosters. There are other people who are obligated, they're obligates, right? I feel obligated to help you, maybe because somebody helped me. That's a type of person. I'm obligated to have the conversation. Do I want to have more? Maybe not. And then there are curmudgeons, like the Muppets. They hate puppies, they hate babies. Helping people? No, they don't want to. Good luck, you'll do it on your own, right? These are 3 different types of people. So when you're reaching out and you're not hearing back, don't get discouraged, okay? Don't give up. You have to reach out to a lot of people. And sometimes not everyone is like the Career Center advisors, but that's okay. That means you keep going and sustain the momentum to find people who really do enjoy giving back, right? So don't be discouraged. Everyone is struggling, but it's a numbers game as well with networking, just as it is with applying to jobs, okay? Very important. It's not about you if somebody doesn't respond. Not about you. It's because they're busy and they're not getting paid to have the conversation. But find the booster. There are boosters, find them. So question for the chat and for the room. This is a really hard question, but I'm going to ask it. What are your best practices for sustaining your network? So say you have a really good conversation with a career advisor, with somebody in industry. How do you build that network connection, or how do you sustain it? Yes. Yes, set reminders to follow up with that person. Beautiful. Who else? Yes.
Be visible.
Be visible on LinkedIn. Yeah. To their post. Comment on their post, like their post. Yes, engage on LinkedIn and on someone's activity. Very, very good. Yes. What else? And the folks on the chat, you can answer as well. Don't be shy. Anybody else? Yes.
You can send an email after you submit your resume for a certain employee application.
Definitely. Yeah, you can send them an email saying, hey, I just submitted my resume, just submitted my application to the company. Thanks again for your advice. Absolutely. Once again, just small thank you reminders of gratitude, indications that you're following through on their advice. You took their advice, you're following through, you're applying. Very good. Anybody else? Lorena, Mike, do you have any tips here?
You mentioned so many things about it. Just keeping in contact. So like I have a good example, just it might not really connect with you, but it still does. So if you're applying for grad school, for example, if you're pre-med, pre-health, you're applying for grad school or professional schools, and you're needing like letters of recommendation, like don't just disappear after you graduate. So even if you're taking gap years, like you still want to connect with faculty about letters. Don't disappear 2 years later, you're asking for a letter because that's the professor that you took in one of your science courses or in one of your classes to be able to get a letter for grad school. So you want to make sure that you keep in contact. And this is again, just people from the network within UCSD.
Yeah. Woo, that was a good one.
I'll add another one. Generally, everyone's got some great ideas here and things, but it's fundamentally just being yourself, being an authentic person, real, and being yourself. Connecting to the person too. If you find that you have some sort of thing that you share with that person and can follow up on and have a conversation about, that's nice to be able to share those kind of things too, and have that kind of communication as you continue on with that person in your relationship. You're building a relationship. It's not just not just a connection, really.
On that note too, when you're having these conversations, you might realize, oh, we have all these hobbies in common, or, you know, I don't know, political leanings or groups we're a part of, right? And sharing some of the things you're doing and sharing that with them, that's a fun way too, to get beyond just the professional, but more personal, right? If you have hobbies or things you enjoy doing in San Diego or wherever, right? It's more than just professional, it's also personal, so that's a nice thing, yeah. Okay, so some resources, we will go more in depth about LinkedIn in like 5 minutes, so we'll get there. One of the resources I want to mention is our alumni page on LinkedIn. So if you are starting from zero, you can go to our public facing LinkedIn page, and there's a fun tab on the right here that says alumni. And in this alumni tab, you can actually customize by where alumni from our campus. So we really encourage you to utilize the alumni network. Also utilizing your alumni network from your undergrad institution, or if you're part of a sorority, a fraternity, using your network and the alumni of the groups and networks you're a part of, right? To see where are they now, right? So whatever network that is for you. I do need a plug. Hold on one second. Yeah, I need the small one. Hopefully you guys are still there, and hopefully we can keep this going. So you want to go to the alumni tab. You can search by where they live, where they work. And you can search by what they do, so what specific field and also what they studied. So you can customize according to your degree, right? You see here, computer science, about 17,000 alumni. But I'm searching here, biological sciences. You can look at where they work. So specific major companies will pop up, right? And then also specific companies. So I'm looking 17 alumni, biological sciences who work at Illumina, right? You see the location here as well. So I found a chief of staff, oncology, say that that's my field and specialty. I would go to more, and I would go to how do we know each other other, and I would go to connect, add a note, and that's where I'd craft that informational interview message, right? Hi, I'm this person. I'm from UC San Diego. That's the connection, how we know each other, etc. The other resource is Triton's Connect. So if you're a first-year student, you might think, I'm not there yet, right? This is a really good network on Triton's Connect. It's only UCSD alumni. What's wonderful about it is these are the boosters that I just mentioned, right? Find the booster. These are all the boosters. They've signed up to help current students. So we have a program called Take a Triton to Work, which is really fantastic. You could actually go to work with somebody at the company, and you could go virtually or in person, but see their workplace. And these are alumni of our campus. Like you can go to Illumina and have a week with them at work, see what it's like to work there. Really good way to find and build a mentor. What I would recommend is going to the directory. And when you're in the directory, you want to specifically look for, if you go on the right, you can search for industry, or you can look at your degree program. So specifically your major. You see all these lines that says willing to help. That means people who want to help you with resume reviews, networking, industry insights. So there are people who want to help you. You just have to reach out, right? So here I'm looking at PhD, biological sciences. And then, for example, thank you, Mike S., save the day. Scott, he's a technical application scientist at Thermo Fisher, right? So you have his summary, you have his academic background, you have his professional background. What I love about Triton's Connect, you can find people's personal emails. So not their UCSD emails, you can find their phone numbers, you can find their personal Gmails. So you could send an email directly to them. You are not going to find this information on a company's website, ever, nor on their LinkedIn. Very unique. You could actually send them a Gmail message. There are 27,000 alumni, 27,000 on this platform. Use them. They're fantastic. So you could schedule a time here, crop that message as well, but I would use both of these. There's also their LinkedIn. You can pop on there and see that as well. Okay, now LinkedIn for the last 15 minutes that we have. I'm going to get right into it. So these are some of the statistics about LinkedIn. So more than half of LinkedIn members, they have a bachelor's degree, 900 million members in 200 countries. This is the networking tool, right? The networking tool. There is no other better one. Very important. 61 million companies on LinkedIn. 3 new members sign up each second. 199 million members in the US alone. 69% of US users use it daily, which is quite a lot, 70%. And completed pages get 30% more views. So you want to complete your page as much as possible. So some basics, right? Most recruiters are going to be on LinkedIn looking at your profile, right? So you want your professional brand to be up there. You want to pick a professional picture, have a strong headline and summary, have your education, all of your experience. So everything on that resume, you want to put that on your LinkedIn. Every single thing. Your LinkedIn is like a CV. Your volunteer, your internships, everything you've ever done, get that on LinkedIn, right? Relevant skills and endorsements and recommendations. Those are both great. So a LinkedIn photo, really want to make sure it's not a selfie, right? You want to dress professionally. How does your ideal office space, what is their professional etiquette? That's how you want to dress. Is it business casual? Is it casual? Is it super formal? You want to look exactly like the dream job you're going for. It should be a clear photo. It should not be a group photo. It should be just you. The background setting should be very plain so that you stand out, right? You can tell the difference. I think the one on the top is great. The one on the bottom, it's also good, but I kind of prefer the one on the top. And if you need help taking a photo, we can help you take a photo here as well. The iPhone takes great photos, so we can also help you with that. Background banner. Also, you want to make sure this is clean, not too distracting, right? It should have the brand that you want to convey, right? So if it's similar to tech or biotech, right? You want to choose images that relate to the field that you want to go into or your workspace, right? But also not too distracting as well. So professional summary. This one is very hard, but it's very similar to your pitch, right? Or even your cover letter, right? Your self-introduction in a way. You want it to tell a story, to share your accomplishments, and also have like a touch of what makes you unique, right? It shouldn't be too resume, too kind of blanket and boring. You want to have a little bit of flavor about what makes you unique, right? So I'll share some questions to think about, right? When you're writing professional summary, what are you passionate about? Where do you draw inspiration from? What is your current role or what communities do you serve, right? Who is your clients or partners? What challenges are you solving? And are you good at solving and have a proven track record of solving, right? How has your past impacted your career, or what does that career trajectory look like for you? What are you known for? Key skills, like what would somebody go to you for? Who are you outside of your work or in relation to your work? Do not use excessive jargon or overuse buzzwords. I think that's really important. Give us a unique tone that is you, right? Overuse buzzwords, you'll see in a second, but it's generic. I don't want to read generic. I want unique. I want your voice. I want your tone. So there's 3 examples here. I don't know if somebody in the front wants to read them, so you don't hear my voice. Can I get you to volunteer? Oh, man, this one.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
One of my first memories in school was going to a parent-teacher conference in kindergarten and having my teacher tell my parents, Desiree is definitely one of my most talkative, no matter where I move her in class. She communicates with everyone. Throughout my life, I've developed this art of being able to communicate with anyone at any given time. From joining the debate team in college, studying internal and external communication, to working in different careers that allow me to utilize this skill in different ways. I've learned that effective communication is at the core of my successful leader and business. I have developed a passion for not only being the voice of those that cannot communicate for themselves, but also teaching people to communicate effectively. In recruiting, I'm able to do this by helping people acknowledge the potential within themselves and be able to communicate that effectively to hiring managers. I'm able to communicate with people from all walks of life and all have one thing in common: they need a job.
Correcto. So see, personal, professional, but in a somewhat polished way. It's very deeply personal, very deeply unique, but not in an off-putting way. It's like, oh, I understand the through line of who you are, how you show up, how your past determines your future as well. But it's creative, right? Thank you so much. What's your name?
Alex.
Thanks, Alex. Great voice. All right. Let's see. We have one more. It's kind of long. I'm not going to read it because of time, but it's also excellent. Does a similar thing, has a similar tone. If you want to take a picture, you can. But it talks about his background in computer science, solving really complex problems, and then going into HR. It's pretty good. So I'll read the first one. Growing up, I would dismantle every toy, game, gadget at sight in an attempt to understand how and why they work, the way that they do, and rebuild to full functionality. Just like everything in life, I succeeded at some point and lost others. My broken toys were not enough to stop me, rather. I approached my next experiment with lessons from the failed ones to ensure success. I would attribute my greatest wins to my extremely inquisitive nature, which enables me to understand what exists in opportunities to reinvent and create. Brilliant. I mean, the writing is really, really good. So probably better than ChatGPT. Really, really good. But I'll go on. So one of the things you want to think about, right? When you see others on LinkedIn, what makes a LinkedIn profile stand out to you, right? What is it? Maybe it's the posts that they create or what they share, the content that they share. What stands out to you and why? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? I see you're moving your head. Yes.
I'm a grad student, and whenever I used to look at the LinkedIn profile of professors, I found it very interesting when the pictures were less like, usually it's people in conferences on a podium, but a lot of them have it on outside, like it's a snapshot image of their face, but it's in like an outdoorsy place, that kind of, and then when you read that, like with some sky background, blue background. So when I read about them, I find it very interesting that they have all-round personality and not just the work. Like they balance things out. So that's very rare, but I find it very interesting.
Okay. So you've learned your faculty of souls and personalities and have a lot of great experiences at conferences as well. Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. They share about that as well, not just their research, but yeah, their work outside of academia. Nice. Anybody else? What stands out on a LinkedIn profile? Or things that you want to change about yours? Or you can keep thinking about that. I know we're crunched for time, so keep thinking about that. What stands out and how might you emulate those profiles that stick out to you and why, right? Oftentimes people just tell me you need to post more. And I forget, I'm so busy doing so many things. I just forget to post about events or things I've done, right? To celebrate the people I see that I follow, they're posting almost every day. right? And that might be too much. You want to decide for yourself how often to post, but it's okay to toot your own horn and celebrate your accomplishments. And that sometimes it's just making visible what's invisible in your own world and verbalizing and communicating that with your network. Profile headlines. So right under your name, I want you guys to start thinking about profile headlines in a different way. So you might have graduate student or Master of Public Policy student, which is fine, but eventually you want to start to get to what is your title professionally, right? So these are okay, right? But if we can get to a more focused international development professional with field experience in East Africa, right? If you can start kind of visualizing what does that professional title for you look like, that's going to be stronger and captivate a recruiter, right? So definitely work with a career coach on some of these examples. Also look at professionals in your field. What are their titles? Is it just their job description, or does it also say, you know, data scientist, right? GIS, right? What does it say exactly in their title? You can mimic or mirror those. So work experience, just very quickly, you want to add everything, as I mentioned. One key point that is somewhat new to LinkedIn, you could add skills and you could attach specific skills. So technical skills, soft skills to each experience. Please, please, please do that. Also, if you have documents, if you have a PDF, if you have links to websites, your GitHub, whatever that is, right? It's a website that shows you won an award. Link that, right? The more documentation, the better, right? Give us all of that. Of course, you want to make sure you have very strong active outcome accomplishments, right? Achieved X is measured by Y by doing Z. So very impactful outcomes, not just the low level work you did. What is the outcomes that you achieved in that role, right? Quantifiable outcomes. Education, same thing. You want to add everything. Your GPA, leadership activities, the coursework you were involved in, your graduation date, major or minor, right? Leadership positions, every single thing. Your thesis, put it all in there. Put everything in there, right? Same thing, links and such. You can get endorsements. So ask your friends in your classes, hey, can you endorse my skills? Right? I want to have Python be really, really strong on my LinkedIn so that every recruiter can see how good I am at this. Ask your friends. Say, hey, add me on LinkedIn. Can you endorse my skill set? So if you get 500 people endorsing your skills in Python, sounds like you might be an expert if 500 people are going to endorse you for that, right? Or your language skills, whatever that is in your field, put that on there. That's going to look great. Because it's credibility, right? Accomplishments, that you can add a project section, you can add honors and awards, you can add organizations you're a part of. There is so much you can add. And a really, really good one is recommendations. So if you have a former supervisor on LinkedIn who is willing to recommend you, they can put exactly that. I worked with Lorena at the Career Center as my colleague, and I can say this whole paragraph about how fantastic she is, right? So then when I'm outside, right, and I'm looking in, oh wow, her peers are saying really wonderful things about her. Maybe we should consider her work ethic, because it looks like Jessica is very credible giving Lorena a recommendation, right? It's more credibility, right? More validity when you get those recommendations. You should also be giving them. If you supervised an intern, give them a recommendation, right? So please add all of it, all you've ever done into every section. It's going to help. All right, we're almost done. Use LinkedIn not just for your profile, also creating job alerts, right? Yes, networking as well, but you can create job alerts for specific companies. So definitely check that out, as well as job alerts generally, right? For data scientists or data intern, right? You can do specific keywords. every day or every week. You can customize that, so check that out. You also want to customize your public profile and URL, right? So it has my full name. If you don't want it to be wonky saying 379-572, blah, blah, you know, I'm not going to remember that. So have your full name, make it clear, put that on your resume, okay? And you can customize that for the public. Another thing, you want to look at visibility in your settings. So for example, especially when you're applying or interviewing to jobs, you really want to make sure that you're on private mode. So I once interviewed for a job, let's just say I was not on private mode, and my hiring manager, he knew that I looked at his LinkedIn about 15 times. He's like, oh yeah, that was you looking at my LinkedIn. And I was like, oh yeah, I got the job, thank God. But he knew. And he told me, oh yeah, I saw you've been looking at my LinkedIn a lot. So move that to private mode. So they don't know exactly who is stalking them. You know, yes, it is stalking in some way, but you just don't want to tell them that you're stalking them, right? Move it to private as you're looking at who is going to be interviewing you, etc. Right? Just be careful. So customize all of those settings. We're at time, so I do want to mention that. One thing, if you want to sit next to the person next to you and connect on LinkedIn, it's a good place and chance to start right now. So if there's somebody you don't know, you want to introduce yourself with the next kind of closing out here, you can add each other on LinkedIn and start to build your network. Like I said, you never know who's gonna impact you in your career. So set up those calls with each other. And then I'll stop there. You can leave if you want to, but I'll also stay after 5 minutes or so for questions in the chat and here in the room. Yes, all right, I'll pass it over to you. Yeah, if you have to leave, no worries, go enjoy lunch and de-stress. Yes,
What's like a tasteful way to post about a summer experience?
Say it again.
What's a tasteful way of posting about a summer experience? It was researching a lot.
Oh, great question. The question, okay, I would highlight, what accomplishments did you have in that experience? Or if you have a photo of your team or your lab and the work that you're doing, you could share, you know, you're grateful for the summer opportunity to research and share a little bit about what are what's the topic or area of research that you're doing. I don't think it's considered bragging, but it's just sharing with your network some of the things that you're up to.
Okay.
Like it's more of a mindset shift, I would say. So if you have a photo or an article of the work that you're currently working on or publishing, or outcomes that you found or discovered, you want to share it with your network. Don't think of it as bragging. Think of it as look how I'm grateful for this experience and opportunity, and look forward to seeing what insights we discover. That's how I would do it. Lorena?
Add in your features, so the features area. You can add it in your features, so the features area is like the first thing that's that anybody is looking at under your profile. And it's just basically saying like, you know, this is what I did over the summer, and you can like do maybe a snapshot of, if there was a PowerPoint, maybe the first slide or something like that, just to showcase a little bit.
Oh, yeah, the star. Yes. I got to. So there's a featured section, right, where you can star the experience or the post that you make, and it comes right after the summary, I believe, right? So it's like your name, your photo, headline, right, summary, and then featured comes right there. It stays, it's evergreen on that LinkedIn. So it's like you post about the experience, you want to feature it so that everybody's scrolling through, that's what they see, is your summer experience. Yeah, because usually the posts, they go away. So, you know, I post about it, it's not gonna stay there, but you want to keep that up until your next great thing, and then you'll start that, so you can feature it. Good point. Yeah, back here.
I've never like used LinkedIn really.
Today's a good day
Yeah.
to start.
You said that, you know, some people who post almost every day.
Yeah.
What is that like? Is it just about professional life or is it everything?
Definitely not about everything. It's also up to who's posting, right? People have different comfortability with what they want to share. And you decide that for yourself. I would be very careful. And there's a very fine line, especially as you're starting out in your career and building a professional career. You want to err on the side of solely professional. And then once you're really famous and a big name, sure, you could share more personal stuff, right? But I would keep it professional. But sometimes it's personal too. I graduated, you know, that's both, right? So that's what I would say.
When in experiences, you told that write it in the lines, the description, achieved X measured by Y. But in a lot of like till you are up to a certain level of education, most of your experiences, the goal is like say something great, but you are just getting hands-on experience because it's not enough time. Like 6 months, those kind of chunks of internships.
Yeah.
So how do you portray that as an achievement when all you're getting is just hands-on?
So schedule an appointment with an associate director to work on your resume. Or go to drop-in advising with our CPEPs and also drop-in advising with our graduate peer educator. So this Friday from 10 to 12 on Zoom, you can meet with our graduate peer educator to talk about exactly that. How do I elevate my accomplishments? They'll help you work on that resume and then schedule an appointment with me. So we can work on your resume and your accomplishments. I always get back to all of the things that you did. What was the purpose of them? What was it for? Or what was the intention of that work? Who was it supposed to benefit, right? I ask those kinds of questions because maybe you know, are not there yet and you only worked there a few months, but why were you doing the things that you were doing? What was the intended benefit and outcome of it and for whom, right? And eventually you'll make those impacts, but sometimes it takes longer. But you can still allude to that's the purpose of why you were doing it. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Any more questions over here? I think I saw hands, no? No questions here. Okay, any in the chat? Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. I can email them to you. Yeah, would you like them? Yes. Let me get both of your emails. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you all for coming. Take care.